What's going down, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. It's your boy Josh, aka Coleman, and today we're actually going to head over to the workbench behind me and check out the Cherokee. I'm going to pull the top off that thing and show you the progress I've made. It runs, it's up and running, and the wiring is almost done. Not the lights and the body and stuff, but all the Holmes Hobbies products are wired up and functional, and I want to go over it all with you guys, touch on a few things, and just kind of inform you of how I do it, why I choose to do it the way I do, and show you how it works. So anyways, let's head over and do it. So here it is. This is the Cherokee. This is the XJ build. It's just mocked up right now. That's why you can see there's, you know, gaps in the parts, and you know, this is just sitting on here right now. But this is just to give you a general idea of the end shape and stance of this thing. Now there's still a insane amount of work to do on this before it's finished and ready for the trail. However, we're getting to the fun stuff now. It's starting to take shape. We're starting to see some function, and if you look under where the hood would be here, you can see what I like to refer to as some electronic porn. This is just sexy to me. This is what I'm talking about. I probably just got my video flagged. AdSense isn't gonna, Google's not gonna let me monetize this, no. But anyways, point is, what you see here is my ESP anti-spur layout using all Holmes Hobbies electronics for the most part. That fan isn't from Holmes Hobbies, obviously, but the company that makes that fan doesn't support my show or, you know, pay for advertisement or any of that stuff, so they're not getting promoted right now, okay? Besides, I would rather take up that space to promote the companies I rock with, like Axio and Holmes Hobbies. So what we got here is an Axial SEX 10.2 with an ESP anti-spur front motor setup, and for those of you that are new here, obviously Holmes Hobbies Puller Pro, this is the 3500 kV 540 size motor. Going into what is underneath here is a 10-to-1 Team Raffi gear reduction unit, which you can pick up from Asia Tees, which goes down, you can't see it because it's all blocked up, but it goes down to a axial transmission, standard SCX 10 transmission, and shoots out to a couple of AR-44 axles. So that is the setup, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the body off here today and show you all the crazy wiring and all that stuff that we got going on under here. So basically this thing has, when it's all said and done, the engine, the motor will be getting, in the ESC, will be running off of 4S, you know, so 15-ish volts or something like that once it's fully charged, and the lights will all be ran off of 12 volts. And all of the main lights, the headlights, tail lights, brake lights, driving lights, all that stuff, interior lights, those all be ran off of 6 volts. The undercarriage lights, the rock lights, the fog lights, and the light bars that will be up on the rack will all be running off of 12 volts. And let's see, the fan will be running off of 6 volts. So multiple things will be running off of different voltages, and I'm going to show you how I did all that. So let's go ahead and strip this body down, take this apart. Okay, so like I said, it's just mocked up. I mean, this stuff's just sitting on here, so I'm just going to go ahead and pull this off. Basically in the back, the hatch does open now, so you can open the hatch, which is really cool, and it shuts nice and solid. Let's go ahead and disconnect this for now. It's just barely on there. The body separates from the interior like so. The dash is just sitting in there for now, and here we have it with the interior sitting on it, which is not finished. The rear seat's just sitting in there, and I still have to do a lot of work on the floor pan and all that stuff, but you get the idea. So we're going to go ahead and remove this interior too, but I'll go ahead and spin it around to the front so you can see that. There you go. You can kind of get an idea of what's starting to happen here, right? Now, for those of you that have been following, I'm sure you were probably wondering at first, like, what the heck? It did not look very good at first. It was just a big mess. But that's how I build things, and in time it comes together, and eventually it's like, what and how did that turn into that? So that's what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and take this interior out now. And how I have that in here is basically a couple of screws in the back. Undo those. There's a nut underneath. They're not on that tight. I can just hold it with my finger and take the nut off. Now you can just leave those in there, and then the front is actually press fit, so I can just wiggle this enough and pull this right up off of here. Should be able to pull this right up off of here. Maybe. Oh, I see what I'm missing. I forgot. I got a couple of screws in here too. Probably shouldn't be there. There we go. All right. Pull this out, and there we go. Now the interior piece comes out. Set that aside as well, and there we have it. This is the. You can take the grill out. This is it. Let me get you guys off here, give you a better look. All right, so here it is. This is the layout. For those of you that have been following this, I'm sure you're going to want to know all the little details here, so I'll do my best. I'm sure I'll forget some stuff, but you can see there's a lot of wiring going on, a whole bunch of wiring. Now this is still rough in the back because these brackets and everything, these are all just mock-up parts for something I'm working on, so they're just gonna have to work for now. You can see there's not even screws in some of the parts, so I mean it's just mocked up just to work. These aren't even the shocks I'm gonna use, so point is I had to get the geometry I needed, and this is just how I'd go about doing it. So anyways, what we've got going on is I already told you about the motor. We also have an SHV 500 servo here, BLS 500 servo. This is the 12 volt servo. It is an awesome servo, extremely powerful, which I'll show you guys here in just a minute. Running off 12 volts, and then up here we've got our winch and our fog lights. These are the ERC 4-wheel drive fog lights, all mounted on the Wording Made bore bumper there. Those wires, and oh, right here's a Phoenix Design LEDs rock light. So if you look underneath, you can see that there, right? So all those wires run through this loom right here. You can see them there. All the wires from the servo then jump in with it and go through here. The sensor wires from the motor run on the other side of the servo and then join into that same loom. This is just sitting there right now. That's for the fan. That'll eventually go into that loom as well. And then they all go underneath the bracketry that I've got going on for my ESP anti-spur kit, which we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. I actually am going to be, well, we'll just talk about that here in just a little bit. And then basically loops around through that, and then to the side of the ESC, where the ESC wires then join in to the loom as well. The motor wires in the separate loom come around to the other side and run back up to the motor, right? And then all those wires come into this area, and that's where they branch off. All right, so depending on whether it's a 12 volt wire or a 6 volt wire, they go to different locations. 12 volt switched wires are all going right here, okay? Now it's currently not set up as switched, but it is constant 12 volts, so when I plug in the battery, you get a constant 12 volt. I say 12 volt because this will eventually be 12 volt. Right now it's just constant battery power, so if I plug in 4S, it's going to be 4S power through here, which could damage my other components like those lights up there. So for now, though, I'm only running 3S into this just to make sure I don't damage anything. But eventually, this harness right here, it all comes out, goes under here, and then loops back to right here. And that harness goes, basically it's tied into this right here, right? And you just can't see it because of all the stuff that's going on here. But that harness ties into this, so it's getting 12 volt right now. But it ties into it through these, there you can see it. I have these two plugs right here, okay? So one of those, the reason I used a Y harness is because I wanted to be able to unplug this harness from battery power and run it to a, I'm gonna get a Castle BEC, not that one only puts out 9 volts. I wanna get the bigger BEC that puts out 12 volts. And this whole harness will be running 12 volt switch through a Castle BEC, a 12 volt BEC that will, eventually when I get the right receiver, be hooked up to its own channel. So I can literally turn this harness on and off from an auxiliary channel down the road. That's the plan. But because I don't have that receiver, that radio set up now that I'm after, I have it hooked to a Y harness and hooked to this, so I can plug it, unplug it as I need to, or when I finally get that, I can just unplug this and plug it directly into the BEC, and the BEC will be plugged into everything else. So anyways, hopefully some of you guys followed me on that. I know that sounded like a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but it does make sense somehow. And then the other part of the harness is going to what is it? The things that I don't want switched, like the servo. The servo power is always going to be going, so there's no need to plug it into a harness that's going to be turned on and off, right? So that's what we have so far. And then what else do we have? All the other signal wires and everything, they all come down through here. This loom is coming off. I need to fix that. There we go. They all come down through here and run to the other side and go into the receiver case right there, the receiver box underneath. So that's where the receiver is, and all the signal wires that need to go to the receiver run in right there. Yeah. So, and then right here we have our BR Mini, the dual BR Mini underneath, and that is powering both this rear winch underneath here and that front winch all the way up here. So that's what's going on there, and I think that covers most of it, right? Yeah. And so the reason I have all these extra slots on this harness is because I still need to be able to plug in 2 more light bars on the top of this. I need to be able to plug in, no, not this fan. This fan's gonna go to 6 volts. But I need to be able to plug in, what else? The 2 light bars on the top of that. Oh, and the underglow light. I'm gonna have purple underglow light under this as well. So yeah, there's still, and then I wanted room in case I wanted to plug in something else, just in case. So this thing is gonna be sucking power. There's gonna be so much electricity and current flowing through this thing, it's insane. But it works, man, and it works like a dream. So just to show you guys what I'm talking about, we're gonna fire it up. I've got a 3S battery sitting over here. This is a Eco Power battery from AMAIN. We'll go ahead and plug that in. I've got the old Fly Sky charger been sitting over here, or I mean, radio been sitting over here charging. Turn that on. There we go. And let's plug this in. See if I can do it one-handed. Oh, failed. Try it again. There we go. All right, so you heard everything chime up, and here's a little fact for those of you that don't know. The chimes don't actually come from the ESCs, they actually come from the motors, so that's why you have different volumes of tones. Some are quieter than others. In this case, my winches chime. When I turn this on, you hear the winches do the same chime, and that's because the little motors in there are chiming. So pretty cool stuff. Anyways, let me go ahead and set this down and show you how this moves. All right, I'll set this right here so you can kind of see. It's on 12 volts right now. And here's throttle input. You can see how slow you can go with this if you really want to. Super slow. plenty of torque. It's almost hard to make it go as slow as it is because I mean, I could dial in some more deadband probably. And then a little throttle. It's on a dead 3S, but you get the idea. Now, as far as winches go, they're set up kind of funky right now, so it's not on a standard 3-position switch. It's on a 2-position switch where I use the trim and manipulate it, but I'll show you. In order to do that, what I'm doing is I'm hitting that button right there. And in order to let it out, what I've got to do is I've actually got to hold this, which allows it to start coming out. And then to stop it, I got to hold it back. I got to trim it back. Alright, so that stops it. And then to bring it back in, hit the button. Just like that. Same thing goes. Oh. Same thing goes for the back winch, just with different buttons. On the back winch, I do it with this one up here. And stop it the same way. And then I push this button to bring it back. So it works. It all works. Now, as far as seeing the anti-spur work, see, it's nice and smooth. It just works. So anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I hope that clears up some of the questions. Sorry about the shaky cam. But I hope that clears up some of the questions about this build and what I'm doing, where I'm at with it. And yeah, it works, man. And we will be taking it out and actually beating it. I mean, beating it hard. I want to show you guys how reliable this can be. So, we still have some axles to build and all kinds of stuff. But anyways, that's it for today's episode of Holmes Hobbies Motor Control. You guys, if you want to build one of these setups, the best thing I can tell you, because a lot of people ask me about doing the anti-spur setup, you know, how it takes away the spur gear and what are the benefits and the downfalls to that. The main benefit to that for me is I don't like the slipper clutch. It is a weak point. I don't like having weak points at all. A lot of people like to have a weak point so they have something that fails. I don't like to have a weak point. I guess I'm just different, and that doesn't mean that having a weak point is bad or anything like that. It just means that it's just different. I don't like to have a weak point. I like to build it all the way through from start to finish and have everything be strong, and I want to leave it up to the driver to make sure nothing breaks. So that's just my personal take on it. That's why I do it this way. And this is one of the most reliable setups I can do is direct drive like this. I say direct drive, it's still a gear reduction unit, but it just seems to work for me really well. So that being said, I have done this for years and years and years now. It has proven to be extremely reliable. I've let plenty of people drive them. I've put stupid power through these things. I've bound them up, and I can split axles apart, the housings before it breaks anything that I've modified. So that being said, that's why I do it. I really enjoy it. Plus the speed. It gives me a lot of low-speed torque, tons of low-speed torque and control. Still allows me to get up to walking speed, and if I want it to go faster than walking speed, I just adjust with battery power. So voltage becomes my new tuning method as opposed to changing gear ratios. So if I want it to just be nice and slow all day and run forever and ever, I put it on 2S. If I want it to run, for like a normal amount of time and still have tons of power, I'll put it on 3S. If I want to, you know, get even more power out of it, I'll go on 4 freaking 6S. It doesn't matter. So point is, that's why I do how I do, and I know it's a lot different than everybody else, and we will be going over some traditional methods too and talking about how to tune with the spur gear as well here in the future. But I just want to go over that with you guys. Hopefully it helps some of you out and answer some of your questions. And yeah, if you want to see pictures of this stuff, check out my Instagram. Be sure to check out Holmes Hobbies website, their Instagram and Facebook, and post up them pics. Tag me in them. Anything Holmes Hobbies related, tag me. So that being said, you know what it is, fam. I'll see you on the trails. Peace, chick grease. Yeah.